Hello Blender folks, welcome back. This is Gnomes. We are going to continue in this proof of concept for this complex joint rig using organic rigging, right? Using vertex wave mix modifier. So this is an object modifier that we find here, and the proof of concept here is that I'm attempting to make good deforms on this region. Of course, this is very complicated to solve, and I'm attempting to do this with what I'm calling dynamic wave painting, because what's happening here is that this modifier is affecting the vertices, the vertex group, sorry, of the vertex groups. The wave paint it's changing in real time the vertex group, the deformed vertex group of this bone. So the idea is that here is the vertex group which is orphan. It's the one that here is called the vertex group B. It's def leg, thigh back, L. So there's no deformed bone associated with it. It's an orphan vertex group, and it contains these waves here that we see. And what's happening is that this object modifier will take these waves and it will make them interact in some way. In this case, it's a subtracting way with the original vertex group from this mesh, which is the def leg thigh. So they have similar names, and this is because then if I ever have to go here, I can find them here in case I have some sort of sort by name, and that's okay, there's a right one now, but doesn't matter. And so if we go back here, this bone is just a locator for the driver that I've placed here, because this bone, as it rotates on its x-axis back and front to give global influence, this is like influence of the modifier, just as a bone constraint apparently. So when it is 0, and so we can see if I have keyframes here, when it is 0 or below 0, or rest pose, or when this bone is somewhere like here, then this what's happening is that this vertex group is changing the output vertex group for the thigh bone. As you see, there is a change. This is why dynamic wave paint. As the bone, the deformed bone, is moving, or something happens to whatever. In this case, it's the rotation of the thigh bone, the deformed thigh bone in red, and there will be some changes to its own vertex group. And that is the impressive idea that in theory could be very important to make complex joints solvation. So I don't want this change to occur when the leg bends forward, or I don't want this influence to be relevant of this modifier. So it's nearly, when it's 0 or below 0, it's just as it never existed, right? But it exists. So it's not that I don't even need to shift there. The driver here on the global influence is good enough. And as the rotation of this bone, which is takes what I would like to be the proper x-axis rotation, so it has a local axis there that do what I want to calculate for the driver. So it was bugging or something very strange happening with when I use the x-axis for that bone, unfortunately. So I made this just a quick solve to this, but I want to see if I can get that better anyways. And then what's happening is that yes, it would reach 100 or nearly so, and this rotation is positive. This is the positive. Oh, actually this one, very high. And then around here it's zero out, the global influence. And so if we go back here to that bone, this is the current influence. What it does here, because we can, this is the vertex group A. It's a relation between two vertex groups that we need to target here. So this is the type. I want the type vertex group of a deformed bone, indeed, this one, to be shaped, no, it's not shaped, to be transformed, transformed to the vertex group. How we call that, a transform? It's certainly not a deform. It's, this is coffee, sorry, it's too hot. Alright, good coffee finally. Learning how to make them with a Italian coffee making machine, analogic stuff, but apparently it should be good, but it's hard to make this coffee with good flavor, good. Well, I was having a hard time with this, and finally after more than 1 year I found some way to get it better. My coffee was always having a taste of I think burnt coffee, burnout coffee. No, it's coffee that causes burnout, not the opposite. So what we have here, caffeine, right? And then if taken too much on the wrong time of the day, you'll get screwed up all your health and all your energy because of this. There are good hours to take coffee far before sleeping. Yeah, I had to live many years not knowing this. Coffee or whatever has caffeine. Whatever thing that has caffeine, it has usually is very potent substance. Anyways, let's go back here. So it is tricky to have this working. I'm trying to avoid these ones because they are not very useful for the thing I'm doing. I'm just using this, as of course here I cannot transform, but, and so of course this is not the vertex group that is transforming, but this is what will subtract from the vertex group A. So vertex set, this is what will be transformed. And I just want I believe that's it. I just want to transform the vertex group A, which is targeted here. It's this one, the type one, this one, this one. Okay, so we want to change it by subtracting from the other targeted one, the vertex group B. And so the vertex group B will take off in certain proportion. We'll see it's this global influence, the proportion I'm using. Otherwise it would be either, let's do something here, otherwise it would be either 100%, 0%. 100%, you see, if you remember the original here, it's taking all those things, especially more here than there, right? It's subtracting the waves from this in a certain proportion, and apparently it didn't took everything out, because it's here, you see it even become black because I have this overlay, Popov viewport overlays active, zero weights active option on, right? So it even turns out black. So this means that here it was completely subtracted, but it's not subtracting from the other parts because apparently the wave here is not that much. So this is interesting. So this proportion indeed is not enough to make Like it doesn't make this take like if it was red. It will take whatever it can take from the type, but it wasn't enough to turn it black. So there were remaining. If that was slightly more powerful, then it would have taken even all this stuff. And because I'm using subtract, and this is the only one that is being affected. I don't know how this would affect both simultaneously. Make no sense to me. It will look like a dependency loop thing. A and B, A or B. This or might be something like set groups, right? Set theory, I think. Like you have union, intersection, so this could be union. No, this one would be union and this would be intersection. And then we can combine these features with something like here. I find this a bit complicated without some other examples. I don't figure this out myself right now. And for this case, what I really want is just to change the origin, the one from the type, so that's why I'm using this. And I just want to subtract, but perhaps I could use something else like multiply. In the case of multiplication, what we see is that the waves there are mixing, because there I have no weights here. Mixing, well, not, yeah, it's strange, they are sort of mixing in a way that it's hard to tell, but it's not very useful for what I want to do, especially not when it reaches maximum. But before, maybe this is a good thing, right? Because it merged, so this will be a interesting mix mode. But then for the type, of course, if there were other things influencing this region and not only the type bone, this could be dramatical, because then I know the shin bone has some waves here. So if the type bone lose, we probably will, well, with this mixing, how is this possible? How is this possible that the type with this influence doesn't get completely disrupted? It looks like as if the other was being taking values from it, but no, it is as it is. I do not understand what this is actually doing. So slightly could be interesting, but then controlling the driver that can do this, tricky. So I'm not using this. Adding, something I want to know about the adding. So if I put 100%, what we see is that this is what I apparently this adding, let's make another test. I want to know if adding more can allow the extrapolation of the red, because this is not normalized waves, so this color of red is really the red. It's I put the maximum on the type, especially if there's no other. We can check here on edit mode, but I mostly believe that in the middle of the type it's only the type bone which is affected. So what I want to do is that I want to know if that, can I double that thing with a red influence from the other, and this is we're gonna try right now. So let's use this vertex thing. Can I? Yeah, I can. So let's set wave here of, make these things simple, set wave maximum, and now let's see if this wave add to the or not to the type. I think it won't. We should be able to see already, because even though I'm not looking at here, it's adding, its influence, its maximum. You see there is no effect whatsoever, because this extra vertex group cannot add more than, it cannot extrapolate the ratio. The ratio is, and I can double check it. So if I go and see the wave for that I've added and exactly the vertex group, the vertex that was affected, hold on, where is the shift right mouse button click? So here, okay, it's there. Let me enable the armature. How will I make it's this one? Yeah, that one. And does it has item vertex waves? No, you see only type. What about the others? No, only leg sheen. Okay, this one below a little, yeah, 0. So this is like probably 0. No, it's might be 0 0.0.0.0 or just as maybe there's a dead blue one that could be completely eradicated anyway. So yeah, it's probably not exactly 0, but you see just 1. So if it was any of those two, and yeah, it was one of those two, this doesn't create, yeah, this doesn't add more to this. But if that vertex group was from a, or were from a deformed bone, it's not the case now, it would interfere, because that deformed bone would have the possibility of transformation in world space, and this means that by pushing, dragging around that other deformed bone, or even following this other bone in some slightly different way, it will make that single vertex not add to the ratio or something like that. It would be disputing the ratio, of course, with this one. But because it's a deformed bone and not a orphan vertex group, it will be able to, if I change the positioning or the rotation of that other virtual deformed bone, it will, I could push or drag or do what to that single vertex. It will cause differences here. And in this case, I'm using this as an orphan vertex group, like really as a modifier vertex group, right? This one. And so it cannot have leverage on the vertices. It's just, especially because it's also just having an interaction with that one. But well, if it were a deformed vertex group from a deformed bone, I would have more options, but it could be more dangerous also, because the other positioning of the bone in real time could cause unwanted results. It certainly makes more complicated the thing, but the cool thing is that I can double, triple, whatever. I can falsify ratios in some sense. It's not equivalent. It doesn't touch the ratios, but it touches the mesh itself. So it deforms the mesh in double, in triple. So that is a way to make helper bones work, the deform helper bones on armature deform rigs. And here I'm not using this, so even though I have a ratio, it cannot add beyond 1. So however, it can subtract, right? Oh, it's disabled. Okay, it cannot add, but it can subtract. Aha, see there. So there you see the point, it's subtracting the wave. So this, I believe, can be extremely helpful in this strangely enough, this only cause this change to the mesh as it reaches this, while there it is causing change to okay, I don't understand this, but let's not care about this right now. So let's take off this wave because we don't want it. Yeah, I need my graphic palette, it will be better. So, or maybe if I could, yeah, set wave to 0, then I blur again. Okay, so Shift K, I think. Shift K, set wave. It is selected. What's happening? It's not working. Oh, I need, where's the way? It's not blurry. I need here. Okay. There, now finally. So then we got this, and then let's blur this out. And I need, of course, to. Okay, here. Now let's. My idea here is because I want to try several things before I go into perhaps helper bones, right? Additional deformed bones. So even if I have to create another here only for the left on this back bending, I want to see how far I can go, because now I have already created the driver thing and I know how the driver, how to solve it. I lost a lot of time dealing with that because I had to create it from scratch, and yeah, the expression is just it's just very, there are better things here probably. Here it's okay, although I'm targeting that other bone, but okay, it doesn't matter, it works. The formula can certainly be improved, but it's not the case. I just want something that works barely, just good enough. It's the conception is correct. It's doing what it was meant to, but it could be better conceived technically. I can do that later, so there's not a problem for this presentation. The problem here is that I want to see how far I can go with this single one object modifier, vertex weight mix, and see if I can with another one perhaps make more change there with the reference of this rotating bone. So now that I also know how to easily toggle between this and this, I can probably alright, let's do some things here. So why I cannot blur this bone right now? It looks like it's protected. Oh, this is because, of course, it is being affected by this. So this is can be troublesome, for confusing, I mean. So let's, I don't know why I'm doing that, so let's just re-enable it. And apparently, oh, of course, I need to enable the driver again, re-enable the driver. Now it's being dynamic, okay. And without, you see the effect, without this, the result is this incredible and horrid volume loss in the butt cheek, in this joint region between the gluteus, I think gluteus maximus or maximum, and the thigh and some muscles there, doesn't matter. Okay, so the buttocks and the thigh, and so this there are, maybe I could, the problem is that the start vertex group for the thigh is okay, at least for this, more or less for the rest pose, and then there. Okay, so I don't really want to touch that, the type. However, I can create additional vertex groups for tweaking this interaction with the type vertex group as these transforms occur. What I've done so far is an improvement, but then there's also some interpenetrations going down there, you see it here, and so there are more problems here. It creates some advantage, but it's not enough, so I need to address this in more sophisticated ways. So it's not simple. Maybe it's not possible to do the way I want, and maybe with 2 of these or 3, perhaps with more, I can. There is better solution. There are ways to get this easier. Or maybe the method of just using this only for the type is not enough. So maybe I would end up requiring to add this stuff to other deformed bones that are already here, like such as the spine bone, which has got a, yes, it could take off. And this is actually might be the next thing I do before I add something here, because this interaction is very important. So same thing, I don't want to change the original for that. So let's see what we can do already here. There, I have keyframes here for, so I'm not touching the timeline anymore. It's not the timeline, it's the sheet editor, the action editor to be more specific. So we can see in real time and wave paint in real time this thing. So let's see what we can, if we can improve something here. So I'm gonna hide this because no, not gonna hide, we'll just control. It's scaling totally. This is not what I mean. Oh, I need to be, of course, on a mode appropriated for it. Okay, this is fine. Now we go, and also it can be very, very small, right? So like that, even smaller. That is fine. Okay, then we go back here, here, and here. Now we, is that a deformed bone? Just by accident it is. Yes, let's take it off just in case. And then we go back here, we go back to this, and let's start playing, because now I can easily switch between. And even remembering this feature took me some time, but now we got it. Now we can make this thing much faster and funnier, more dynamic. So let's see. Alright, so waving this a lot and subtracting waves from that, because this is a subtraction, right? It's enable. Doesn't seem to be very helpful. What if we do there? Okay, what about this? There are volume gain here, some, and unfortunately as I add here, it doesn't seem to be, yeah, you see in real time, doesn't seem to contribute very much for some reason. Oh, because this is not sharing influence with anything, right? Okay, so this is maximum influence. This is interesting. Maybe this will be the time for considering a deformed bone here, because I don't want to add thigh influence on, I mean spine influence in here, just so that, and it will, yeah, this will be nonsensical, right? Wouldn't do much. I could try, but I'm mostly certain this will be completely useless, because it wouldn't even be a lot. And if it were a lot, it would cause wreak havoc elsewhere, but even slight weights won't do much difference, but we'll see. Just checking. Yes, we could add also yeah, let's do some crazy thing here. Of course, this will be terrible for the front bending, most likely. Why I've lost waves here. And then let's blur all that. This is probably a horrible idea, although I know that actually for bending, particularly doing this is not a so terrible idea, provide the thigh bone has the inverse, like a hole in here, and same here. So maybe this could be useful, because we are using this transform. So now I'm going crazy in this thing, because whatever. Let's make this thing maybe in the side too, because although it's more. And then of course I'll have to change the waves for the I'll also have to change the waves for the thigh bone, now that I've decided to make this crazy thing. Okay, so you see already here's a big problem, but this we could fix. And here is very, very bad, right? And so yeah, this will create a lot of bad interactions. I now regret a bit having done that, because I've just remembered that if I start making the inverse thing here like that, the subtraction that I have here actually for the type will be useless, because instead I would have to subtract from the other bone. So this could work, but it's too far from what I was investigating. Let's go back and see. Okay, everything here is valid. Okay, let's go back here. Therefore, yes, we are playing here, right? So let's. So this is gonna be useless, because we don't have interactions here with the how to say, we don't have interactions here with other deformed bones. However, this part will have, so this is where we can have an impact from this approach. So this will take off waves from the thigh. This is what this is telling. Subtract from vertex group A, which is the thigh, using vertex group B, which is the orphan vertex group. What happened? Oh, I have a too large thing here. Alright, because we are working this way, I should probably have some sort of protection layer. Something. Yeah, this is not nearly enough. What about just selecting this? Yeah, okay, let be it. With this mesh selection I can at least use paint mask, and so, but now I cannot see my, okay, I have to use this one, which is harder to see the real vertices, but okay, no matter, no problem. We'll be able to continue our task here. So there are some interpenetrations here, and we'll check them. There we go. So does this part of the mesh require to be smaller? So we should, yeah, this is too strong, so perhaps we just need to take off some of these of course not that much, we'll see. These, I'm not sure what this is about. Probably some remaining. Let's see now. Alright, so there's still the interpenetration still occurs and will still occurring, because of course we cannot move that part of the mesh with this method, with this technique. There are lack of deformed bones in the interaction. The gluteus, however, the buttocks mesh is able to deform properly, though not properly, but in relation, because it's in the interface between the thigh bone and the spine bone. And so at least we are able to make something right there, but is that the best interaction? I'll see if I can. So let's. So you see that this is quite complicated. Oh, if I take off. Taking off influence from the thigh as it grows here would make will allow not so much volume loss there, so this could be interesting, although it doesn't move also the, okay, so it prevents volume loss, so this is important. However, it doesn't move this mesh anymore upwards. The problem so that I'm facing is that it removes all the waves, and this is hard to control. If we check the, you see it stops moving because the waves of the, yeah, it's very easy to remove all the weights from here, and then if you have excessive weights there, also that gets removed by not removing all the waves from the, we lose some. There are some dynamics going there, rotational ones. These also would be lost. This meaning I need to compensate this with some differential motion. That is where the additional helper deformed bone should come in handy. It will rotate this using a different input, not the same rotation as the original type. It will be an addition, but it will start rotating a different mesh and from perhaps a different pivot point and on a different orientation. It will tweak the mesh in different orientations, right, and in different strength, ignoring sort of surpassing whatever constraints the ratio here or the wave painting is already doing, but it won't suppress the wave painting. It will just work on top of it. Alright, so apparently it is the maximum I could do in this attempt here, which is not actually totally useless, but it's too strong, so maybe I should be more careful about those things and like smooth out into some, like, let's contract and let's augment the factor and let's iterate more, and yeah, let's do something like this. Let's see now for the oh, it is disabled. Okay, here we go. We could again, of course, I want to look from the perspective of this bone. Alright, so we see it's interesting. It can be helpful because it simplifies in some, maybe not, but in my perception this might be helpful in the final adjustments to this, because but that's not a really great thing that is happening, but can be useful. I will see what is better. It is possible to assess if it's how useful this will be, but for now I want to again let's do some cleanup here, right? Clean up and clean. Why it has the other side? It's not cleaning so well, but well, the rest will subtract, like here. And I think we could take off yeah, let's work on a very minimal region, but I don't want really to hide the mesh, like otherwise it will be hard to visualize, right? But at least this will be easier to, yeah, not really easy, and for painting it could be dangerous. It could paint the other side. No, cannot. Okay, let's be like that, whatever. Yeah, like that, fine. So let's see if I can play with this just a little. If I can get improvements from this region just by doing some slight waves on this. It's enabled, yes. So I'm curious about this. Let's try to bring some more. No, I'm subtracting here. I need to add more. All right. What about this part? This will subtract from the type. Okay, what is happening is that I'm starting to just push the problem away. And here it won't do much. As we see, it start to be useless, because only if I had other helper bones influencing. But we can still make something about this part. Alright, so by preserving the buttocks in this, it won't change much, right? Beyond that. If I just can push this leg and the vertex apart in a way that is organized, I could end up fixing this whole thing in relatively simple way. It's not that doing this with the other matter, armature deform, is not possible. But there's another thing to the armature deform that exactly can be. The cool thing here is that this is only applied in a driver way, and we can't do that with the armature deform, because the deform bones, they will be acting all the time. They don't have this driver to change the influence of the deformed bone on them. So what we can do is use, so what I'm gonna do immediately from this standpoint is that I'm gonna create a deformed bone, and it will be a deformed bone with this quality, with this this is an orphan vertex group, and this time I'm gonna reuse it. I'm thinking I had some other plans for all the things, so I'm doing slowly, right? I'm taking my time to do this experimentation, because there are many things that we can, there are many approach to this, and each one is interesting, because this thing is quite new. I'm quite new to this possibility, right? So let's start with this idea. Actually, I have even another idea, is that instead of affecting the type, this could be affecting the helper bone, and the helper bone, well, we're gonna see. So I need to start de-orphanizing this. I could, of course, create a deformed bone with its own deformed vertex group, which is not this one, and then this one will play on top of the type bone and the helper deformed bone. So, but this could help in that area, because then the helper bone will be fighting the influence, and then this could have some real effect there, as currently it is not having. So maybe maybe I should attempt first a helper bone without taking that thing out. So for this, I would like to get, alright, I have an idea, because I have a mechanism bone here that maybe if it's stuck in place, now well, you see there, yes, it is in place. Alright, okay, it's it's there. It's because this rig is slightly different than what I had before. So yes, let's make this the helper bone. I could use really another bone. So let's make it a deformed bone. And the problem is that this deformed bone will start affecting this leg everywhere, like in the but it's okay. We are then we if I'm not satisfied, I can just delete it. So let's start adding some waves here. Really here it will be chaotic because this affecting the side front bending. It will be like really annoying. This will, so it's sort of the thing that renders this kind of complex join uncontrollable in terms of deforms, because it's deforming every side, in all directions. This will affect the deforms. So I won't be able to avoid this because now there is this deformed bone, which is like a duplicate of the thigh bone. Not exactly a duplicate, but yes, it is. The waves here are really low, but it's still taking waves from the thigh bone, the original one. And of course this will always, just as the thigh itself has a crazy effects, this also has crazy effects. It will like it won't create more issues because it is just sharing the same waves. So it's like as the thigh was still there, but now the thigh has a brother, a twin, or a Swiss sister, and now it's just, yeah, actually this won't do nothing the way it is to to my deform system, because well, hold on, I need to add this to my, okay, here let's take this and also these two, assign, and then select, and let's hide everything. There we go. So yeah, this, because it's like there are two bones now, deformed bones, but they are sharing the same thing. There's nothing new about this interaction between them. So this means that even now this where is the, yeah, this effect, this probably, even if I add waves here, it won't do nothing. Still do nothing. Yeah, exactly. There is no, yeah, because exactly it's on this region, because this is our very different bone than the thigh, and they are moving in sync, right? So actually this was a bad idea, a very stupid idea, because the problem is that this bone is full of constraints. So parenting, bone constraint, whatever, I don't even know, I key, inverse kinematics. So I cannot move it like a helper bone. So yeah, let's just do some unfortunately I was not using auto normalize, right, and rarely use that option, so I didn't destroy the thigh original vertex group. So I need to pick this one, and no, it must be on wave pane mode. Okay, pick that. There's only thigh, oh, there's already thigh left and right. No, let's delete both. So no way out. I need to create an additional bone, deformed bone. So hopefully, thankfully, I mean, I have already experience in this domain, so this will be relatively simple. To make it transform properly, I think I want it to be aligned with the this is just roll. Now I want it to be aligned with yeah, like this one. So is aligned now. Its axes are aligned with workspace, which is more convenient just in case I have to make some okay. So this will be a okay. Need to let's first change. So this will be type okay, def leg type, is that correct? Type I don't know how do you call it, help left. Alright, that will be that. Then I need to give it the deform property, okay, deform option. Wave painting, not, hold on, first I want it to have some sort of, I will constrain it, this I can hide, not gonna use, so I'm gonna constrain it to the type with some copy location. Yes, but I'm not sure what is the method that I used to use for that. The problem with copy locations is that it will be I cannot move it, but this idea of pushing it this way could be enough, although how is it possible that I can still, no, I cannot. I was moving this along with it. So what I can do with this deform bone right now is that we could do something crazy right now, because I can go back onto this decision and let me give it a different name. I'll give it the name of this vertex group, and so here, and immediately what that will do is that now it will push the alright, so now because it is a deformed bone, it has this deadly influence on the mesh even when the thing is disabled. As soon as I switch this off, the influence there is over. So here, and the only way to solve this, I see, if that well, there should be other ways, but this is not very interesting now because I cannot toggle off this thing properly unless I gave for the deformed bone itself, which is movable, unless if I give the deformed bone itself an object modifier, I target the vertex group of this deformed bone, that vertex group. If I create a vertex wave mix, that this would be vertex group A, for example, and it will be totally obliterated as the leg gone direction that I don't want. So instead of messing up with the leg, I could start mess up with the deformed bone, but I don't want to do this because I don't like this solution, because now I have to handle twice the problem, right? So I'm gonna have to, if I change the name of the bone, the vertex group gets lost. So I want to preserve the vertex group. So let's go there. No, hold on. I want to preserve the vertex group, so I'm just gonna give it another name. And then I go on the, now I can change the bone's name. There'll be some, just this to simplify. Then now I can give this its original name, and now yeah, I don't have to toggle the target here. And now the bone, the deformed bone, however, has no vertex group, so you have to create a new one for it. But that one, this time it will be different. It won't be the vertex group from the it will be something else. It will be something that we'll be using to implement some changes that we want. And for this bone, yes, we can give it some driver, or instead I could just copy the same driver. It would be easier for its local z. What its local z does? Now its local z won't do nothing. What I need is actually a driver to, okay, I know what is it. Yeah, so this could be a case of a driver. That's be the easiest way, although the bad thing is I cannot move it on other directions. So let's go on here, and let's give it, yeah, I would like a driver here, but maybe hard to control this thing. Axis, target, owner local space. Does it change anything here? No, there's a target workspace. No. It's a custom space, one technique I was using for this particular trick, but I don't remember right now. We'll have to take that, look back at that at another time. So doesn't matter. If I can just do this, that is good enough. So maybe drive this thing. So it starts out all right, let's see what we can do here. So armature, then the bone that we want is that one, which is just called bone. This is not the way I would do. I would just use a copy transform, but since I'm using driver elsewhere, we'll attempt this method. Should work. And I could use the graph editor as well. So X rotation, local space, and then as it moves, it's going crazy. Of course, it's going crazy. And then, yeah, so very, very annoying. X rotation, quaternion, and var. Why that value here? Let's give some negative. I'm not even sure if okay, so all right. Of course, this is too much, so we could give it a negative so it will start later. So let's do something like minus, no, it's 2, that's not a 0.3, yeah. And it's pushing too much, so let's give it some other thing like divided by 2. I can't use my keyboard, I need to switch the language here. Let's see this. Yes, now it's too little, maybe I should do something like that, divided by 1 1.5. Let's see now. Alright, I think I can work with that. So the idea here is that this bone will have some, it will stretch the mesh of the joint between the buttocks and the back of the thigh. Because the buttocks already, thanks to the other, it preserves some shape, right? Because it's taking off. Then what the last thing that remains to work on is pushing these vertices with the extra weights from here. So this doesn't require actually vertices here, maybe very smooth waves, but it's especially there. And so we do this in real time. I mean, not real time, we'll do it in visualizing wave painting, but visualizing what we are doing. So we start with very precise wave painting, the most precise we can, of course. And yeah, it's not that simple, because here I just have moving backwards. It's following the thigh, right? So, and possibly that is not enough, but we'll see as we keep developing these waves here, and we'll see. I know that works, that tends to have some positive effects at least, and it should work if certain conditions are met. Okay, so we see that this is not pushing enough, and the problem is that it might be suffering the same rotation. No, the bone itself is not rotating. So however, yeah, we can. Oh, this could help. If we want to complexify this thing, this could be a way to address this too. So why not? These minor rotations, if they are being helpful, why not? It's like we are derotating the mesh, but see, currently the effects are not enough, so maybe we just need more waves here on the joint region. So now the pushing is I don't, oh, that is the thing that was, of course, if we rotate too much it start, I don't really, it's not that I plan to rotate this. I thought that only by pushing this mesh could be enough, and apparently there's a great risk that it won't be enough, but I won't give up so fast. My idea is that if we have enough understanding of all these interactions and certain bones and certain motions, it's very relational thing, we can have a safe method, a method that will work always for certain models, humanoid models, that will tend to work with some minor adaptations, of course, but something that is generic. So this is what is very hard in this kind of rig of complex joints. But I still believe it is possible to achieve some generic, but for this, so for example, this way of preserving the buttocks, you see there, as I push the mesh backwards, this was working, right? The problem is that there are other issues that need to be addressed. Of course, it's not just that I need to push this mesh, the buttocks also need to be elevated, and because I took off the influence from the thigh, I would need another influence there, and that is why we could use another. This is a technique that is, which I've learned from. We can have a bone like in orthogonal to the thigh, and that rotation of that bone would elevate the buttock, so it will be like that, and so as the be an L shape rotating. But this is dangerous because as the thigh rotate frontwards, this also bone will rotate a lot, so like nearly 360 degrees. So it can look good, it can perhaps improve, but it brings up the same of the main problem. So it's not it can help perhaps on the buttocks, but not therefore on the. And so here the idea is that it's clear to me that I need to address this elevation, and so this copy location that is locking my possibility to move this mesh up, and now I could use these waves for that. This is indeed, now I'm turning back to my old style tutorial, which is this idea that I can, I should be able to manipulate this bone. So the idea of being able to manipulate it is manually is good, because then we can see in real time. So maybe currently using these bone constraints, although interesting, is not good enough to do what I want at this stage, at least. And so what I'm gonna do is that, let's go back here and see if now I can manually, okay, I can move backwards, this pushing. How much pushing will that depends on how much influence do we have, right? So currently I have a lot of influence, so I can reduce and have helper bones which have very slight influence, but this doesn't matter that much, because it's with this slight influence added up with lot of deform motion that will cause large deforms on the mesh, even with very light waves. So this is very relative. However, you see how hard these things are to control, and at least it is a way to control. And there are advantages and disadvantages of this armature deform system regarding, for example, shape keys. Shape keys, the problem is that it's hard to manipulate the ongoing process, while here I can pose this bone with all its deform on different, like if I was keyframing, I could do action constraint for this, right? Action bone constraint. But I prefer to do it more, to not create an animation for that could be a good idea, but never done that before. I prefer something that would be more direct, right? Because the action, then it's an animation, I don't know, it's too far from the real thing, right? And so I prefer to make the bone change, transforms. So I use could use driver. I'm familiar with transformation bone constraint, so yeah, I'll use transformation bone constraint. So let's this time, so let's delete this thing at once. Let's go back here, and so and now I could even use rotation, because why not? So I need to elevate the buttocks too, so I need to add some waves here, and we're gonna use this mix. And so you see this combination, rotation, because it's 90 degree, this will be already disruptive, so we need to take care if not rotating a lot. But now I think it's good idea to give them some rotation, the helper bone. So because it's true, the initial rotation is not grave for this mesh on, for this new deform, for this position, right? Hard to explain. I cannot explain what I mean here. Okay, so this would be the elevation of the buttocks. And it will push, it will, the drag, it will elevate, and it will rotate. And the rotation helps spreading apart the mesh. But at some point I need, yeah, I need to wave paint here. Hold on. I probably need more influence there on the critical region, because it's not responding, it's the critical region of the, yeah, so there, pushing, yeah. And then you see this is where we have two problems to solve. To make this separation, I need, it's like I need two helper bones, and so this I was familiar with already. Maybe there is still some way to solve this the way I'm trying. Let's see if we add, it's just a line of vertex which is the critical zone, but see, it needs to be stronger than anything else. Yeah, so let's try again. I have now, I'm focusing on two lines, but maybe let's do it for this one. So this method requires, just as shape keys in certain sense, requires a lot of patience, right? So what I'm finding is that I cannot solve everything with that method, but there is an advantage of this, is that I can now make changes to the, right, to the vertex groups of the deformed bones, even the helper bones. So this something I need to keep exploring. And the idea would be to avoid more work on the helper bones by providing a better automation on these through the object modifier. So currently I'm having very strange shapes going on, and of course it's not. And yes, I cannot solve this thing. It's, you see, it's possible, it's perfectly feasible, but it's not being any easier than it has been with the ulterior methods. It looks like I'm totally involved now in this armature deform strategy, and totally even it is plausible that the extra thing there is going here is even making my armature deform work more complicated. But I won't give up with this thing, the vertex wave mix. I think there is something I'm missing, some concept, some way of conceiving this rig. And so yes, because there are a lot of things I still haven't attempted with this. So the deformed bone here unfortunately is revealing the same problematics as ever. So I don't want to go in this direction just yet. I think there is much to explore only with the vertex group, because there's the spine bone, there is the... And so what I'm gonna do here, I'll interrupt this investigation for the helper bone, which is crazily annoying. I will turn the helper bone into a non-deformed bone, so it will stop being pain. We see we were reaching somewhere, right? But it's just too complicated. Too complicated. So I'm gonna... Now, although it has a vertex group, because it's not a deformed bone, it does nothing. Not even ratios, I believe. Yes, not even ratios. Because it's like its vertex group is an orphan one. So if you check here, we can prove this again. If I go here and delete these vertex groups of the helper bone, nothing happens. Yeah, nothing happens. Something happened when I did Control Z, but not when I deleted. So that doesn't matter. Let's go back here and let's continue here. So my new attempt here is to see now if I can make effects to the other deformed bone. So what I'm gonna do is okay, hold on, it was disabled. Alright, so I'm gonna duplicate this thing, and this will be thigh left, and this will be spine, just spine, well, spine left in this case. Yes, it will be, because it's spine related. Oh, this could be some problem. Maybe I'll have to have two spines, one for each side. Yes, it will be like a hips, not spine bone, but it'll be a hips bone, right? So I don't know why I'm losing this. Maybe this was a mistake from, okay, that I loaded and lost. Okay, so this should be a hips left actually, but currently I'll be using this wave painting of the spine. Yeah, I don't have a left right spine hips bone. I had, but I've deleted them to simplify everything. So is we'll do this. I'll have to do this, but for now I'm working on both sides, whatever, to simplify the proof of concept. Then we can divide it anyways. So no, I'm not gonna make those changes. Who knows, it might be good for the front bending. So now we'll use another vertex group, and for this let's see what we have here. I have this which is empty, so I'm gonna give it a type back, but how do we call it? Hips left, and this will be like that. It's not there. So I'm gonna use this one, and for that I need to get back to the spine, right? Then the object modifiers. Then here we will pick this one, and there we go. So there are no vertices there yet, but it can still do something. Yeah, but only if I messed up with other stuff there. Probably this. Yeah, so we're gonna see what we can do from a total influence after we use the driver. We want freedom from now at this point, and yes, subtract. I could mix the spine and the type. This is bizarre. Yes, let's do some crazy thing here. Just curious about one possibility here. We could even use a third one, mask vertex. What is this for? Not sure, but maybe. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I'll see that later. Currently I want to see if I can like have some interaction between the ones that already exist, the type, so type left, and the spine one. Yeah, this one. So of course this is not replaced. Let's see this multiply thing. No, it's very bad, but I didn't finish everything, so all. Let's see. Yeah, certainly this is garbage. There would be some possibility that add. They are adding like crazy. Yeah, this is average. I don't have the influence, of course. Okay, let's see. Group A or B, group A and B. Difference, no. Multiply. Just that area, why? All. Yeah, they cannot interact in so many ways, that's why, but yeah, all right. Okay, that's it. Not very useful, this idea, just curiosity. And so now I'm gonna pick this bone, and I'm gonna. I don't have any waves for that vertex group, so I'll have to find it here first and give some random waves maybe here just to start with. So this region already will get some waves, so this means that as I click here I can access this or the spine. Alright, so let's go back on the modifiers, then we enable it. Let's see the critical point. Of course, this is already very critical. Is there a way to make subtract, add, multiply? What is this? Oh, this is the thigh. Okay, so of course this is not what we need. This is the spine. This is the second one, right? So alright, so currently it's a mess because, well, we got the... Okay, so this is subtracting waves there, alright. And this is responsible for very little, right? Affecting there. Not relevant. What if from the types I take waves from inversely? If I added, yeah, the rotation of the there's a big problem here. It's the lack of leverage. So this is a critical issue that I should have structured at the basis. The rotation of the type, because of the horrid deforms it will cause here, no matter what, unless the rest position for the character was better for that particular deform. Hold on. Yes, this is the starting rotation. So this, you see, it's even worse than a T-pose. If I changed, however, this rest pose for the legs, then this would make perhaps a more favorable there. I have another idea that maybe the legs could be really... This is not a rest pose. This is my rest pose. Now, imagine this leg. Here, this is the rest pose, but the rest position for the mesh is this one. And the thing here is that, yes, I have yet to make more experiments with the rest position for the mesh. I thought this was a good thing, especially for the front bending, and it's still good for the side bending. But it occurs to me that if the leg was very rotated, maybe closer backwards, like on a side bending, very crazy, something, imagine, I cannot represent it, I would need some drawing, right? So maybe something like that, that at the same time, if seen from behind, would be perhaps the leg could be yeah, we could have some forms of the buttocks already having some thing like that, but not, yeah, sideways, something like that. And then this shape would help already. And yeah, this will be even more crazy than that. It would be possible that the T-pose will be still very good. Even it will not be like exact in terms of arc, the matching on all the possible, not a middle term position for whatever. It's not necessarily something about exacting the middle of the arc of the maximum motion and minimum motion of the leg, of the limbs. It's more about, it's also about, of course that matters, but it's also about how good the mesh can deform in either or other way from a starting rest position for the mesh naturally. So that means if rest pose position here, like this one, even if the mesh moves a lot and rotates in this direction, it might have still a good result instead of this one doing the same thing. So maybe then we have a gain on the opposite side, and the loss on the other direction is not that bad. It's easier to fix, and so this is why I've tested that on one of the first live stream that I've done here on this channel. You can find it. I was doing experiments with rest positions like this one, and I've made one where the leg already started here and exactly the starting position was very good there, but then it started really weird in the other positions. But it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be easier to fix some issues there. Of course, in that case it was very ugly as the leg rotates forward, and especially this pose of the leg were bent forward on the maximum, was even going upwards. This was a very bad, one of the worst results possible maybe. So no, this is not interesting. So maybe and while we have a side bending, and maybe even radical side bending, much more than that, as the leg goes on a natural T pose, A pose, leg straight, right? The damage to the mesh might be much lesser, because this motion in water is not really, it's perhaps one of the easier to solve, and by having the legs outwards, yes. So if I can have a good, yeah, so there are things that I might require to solve priorly than working on this, because I've just found out here the problem is the leverage of the buttocks, because the thigh rotation deforms it so much, because it's on the pivoting point, right? The buttocks, it doesn't move properly as it should organically. I have no mechanism to leverage it, and so that's why I don't want to make it right now, but it will be necessary, and I've just figured out I would require this mechanism at least for this rest position for the mesh. So maybe because I'm lazy, no, it's not about, it's priority. I want absolutely, before I keep on this, I'll return to these things, but I really want to know if I can create a better rest position for the mesh that would perhaps take care of this leverage of the buttocks mesh for me. And if this thinking is accurate, then when I come to this, to solve this thing here, it will be much easier, because I will have already solved or nearly solved that problem without deform helper system yet. So this will be easier to use now. This is being limited by the way the rig is working. So of course it looks like that this alone cannot solve everything, because of lack of mechanisms to dynamize some aspects of the mesh. They need more motion, but as soon as you start adding more motion, like helper bones and whatever, things start to get way more complex, and complicated, and then you even using this can be become even more nightmarish. Then, well, I don't want to use this at all. More complication, right? More wave painting, more systems. No, the idea here is simplify. So I have to retrocede in my attempt. Unfortunately, this will have to wait a little more, but I'm right next to going to it, so I'll have to give a time for this. But the essay was clear. It's clear that the very interesting is that this thing works. Remember, put it before the armature modifier, and this can be helpful. This still is valuable in the sense that it will make variations on the, even neutralize completely neutralize the, by driving the influence, right? Completely neutralize certain deformed vertex groups. And for helper bones, this is really a powerful feature. It really means like having, the problem is that alone how to use it is still problematic. It requires a lot of thought yet, and experimentation and good ideas. It will be as toggling this on off, but with which we can do with a driver here. But this is binary. We want something like gradually, so you have a smooth transition of dynamic vertex group, and this will show in real time. Indeed, as the vertex group is changing, it will, as we have shown, in the, even in the other previous video. So folks, that's it. I'm gonna have to address, for me it was good to do this. Sorry if I wasn't able to achieve the final revolutionary result, but this is indeed, I still believe this has potential, revolutionary potential, I mean, for organic rigging. But how to use it on real cases where it can be 100% accurate to solve things, this is still something that requires investigation. And then let's see what else. Yeah, there's something I wanted to say, but whatever. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back into this thing, but now I'm gonna address the rest position for the mesh. This is critical right now, I figured out, and this helped me figure this out. So this is really important for the things I'm experimenting here. See you soon, folks. Happy blending. I'll be back still in a couple of hours. Maybe I need to research, but I'll be doing this next. See ya, folks. Bye.